On this episode, we talk with Christina Kober of ChristinaKober.com. Christina is a jewelry designer, and we talk about how she started a hobby business where she was making jewelry in her home on her studio apartment, and she turned it into a thriving jewelry business. She was able to turn a part-time job, hobby business into a career. It's a fascinating story. I know you'll enjoy it. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning. How are you today?
Doing good. It's been a busy morning already. Excited about today's show.
Excited too. I was thinking to myself during the pre-show, looking at our guest, and she's zooming in today. Thank you for that. She looks so young. She has 2 children. And James, I'm thinking back, counting quickly. I've met her 30 years ago.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I can believe it because we're old.
But she's not.
She's not.
I don't know how she's pulling that off. So let me bring her in. It's Christina Kober Kauke. She is the owner of Christina Kober Designs. She is a jewelry manufacturer and seller, specializing in handmade and hand-stamped and inspirational jewelry. So let's welcome in Christina.
Welcome, Christina. So glad you're here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
So I know some things about you, having known you for a while, and I realized that you didn't really start out in jewelry, did you?
No, I didn't. So kind of. So my dad owned a jeweler supply store. So we sold tools and equipment to jewelers. And that was like my summer job growing up. And I thought it was the worst. So then I went to college and studied public health, thinking that I would go work for CDC, work in health prevention. And then I found out I had to go back to school. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I kind of went back to helping my dad at his business. And at that point, I was looking for a creative outlet. So I started taking jewelry classes locally. I'm in Atlanta area, and we have a huge metalsmithing community. And it just kind of, I was like, whoa, I actually like this. So I just kept on taking classes. And, the other thing that I had on my side was I was, working at a jeweler supply store. So I had all these people in the jewelry industry that I was interacting with. So I could ask them questions about how to do things, but also how they ran their businesses. Because there's so many different ways to have a jewelry business. I mean, you can have your traditional jewelry store, you can have a repair shop, you can do art festivals, more of like the artistic route, which is kind of what I did.
Well, I'm curious did you ever consider doing sort of the more traditional jewelry shop or a jewelry repair business or something like that?
No.
Okay.
It just seemed boring to me in a way. Not that it is boring, but it felt too confining. I was looking more for, honestly, I started it as a hobby. So I was really just creating designs and selling them on the side. And then it just kind of, one of my pieces went viral at one point when Pinterest first started. And then I was like, wow, this could really be a thing. And yeah, here we are 17 years later. I have a business and employees and a studio and all the things.
And I've seen your studio. I've been there, and it's actually impressive. So, but you do the design work yourself. That's right. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do the design work. At this point, I've had a lot of different iterations of my business. When I first started, I was just on Etsy and then doing art festivals. And it was just me while I was working at my dad's business as well. And then I continued to work for my dad and hired an assistant because I felt like I could make more money working for my dad, but then I could have someone who was paying a little bit less doing like kind of the grunt work,
Yeah.
per se. And then finally, I, left my dad's business and started hiring employees. I started doing wholesale shows. So I was selling to stores. And then I got to the point where I had a standalone studio. It was about 1,500 square feet. I had about 7 employees. Sounds great. But for me, it turns out I thought that was my dream for my business, but it wasn't. I wasn't happy. I was stressed out about money all the time. And there was a lot of issues within the studio of the employees. And it wasn't what I had started my business to do. So I was ready to kind of shrink things down. Then COVID happened. So kind of blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
Terrible thing to say, but for my business, it was. So now the studio is back in my home, in my basement. I have 2 amazing employees and, we're just trucking along. So now I do design work. I work with a marketing firm and I do, all of the not bookkeeping, but payroll and that kind of stuff. And I do some of the production work because that's what I started making jewelry because I like making jewelry.
Right.
So I don't like to get away from that like I used to be. That's my long-winded answer.
I'm curious, where do you find the inspiration for the pieces you design?
So everything kind of started from sounds crazy, but my love of fortune cookies. So one of my first pieces I came out with was a fortune cookie necklace. So it had a little fortune cookie in the front and then a fortune message that was hidden on the back of the neck. So it kind of came from a story in my life and then having the message kind of connected to other people and they could have their own custom message. And then all my jewelry kind of expanded from there. My inspiration comes a lot from things that have happened in my life, stories that I hear, and then also just expanding on the current designs that I have and how can I make them a different iteration. The thing is, the jewelry industry, handmade jewelry industry is saturated. So everybody's making the same thing. So trying to find a way that I can make my jewelry, which is very simple and delicate, be different and stand out is important to me. So I have some signature things that I do, like diamond dusting, which is like a texture I put on the metal. So it looks like diamonds, but it's not diamonds, to really make me be different.
And I saw online as I was looking at your website earlier that you still have that fortune cookie design. Once you've created a design, do you continue that or are they sort of seasonal?
So it depends on how well they sell. It's hard because, as a person, my style has evolved from 17 years ago when I did the fortune cookie necklace. And I've tried to evolve my business as well, but I found the fortune cookie people still like it. They're still seeing it for the first time. So that piece still does well for me.
Okay.
So staying the course of that design style has kind of informed my business and designs. And I find when I try to push out just a little bit, sometimes those pieces don't do as well for me. So I find it's a lot of trial and error, but I have my go-to best-selling pieces that, we just keep on making.
Yeah. Good for you. I noticed one of the themes is that you have a lot of hand stamping on the pieces. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So it actually, the hand stamping, it actually kind of the idea comes from my dad. So he was a hand engraver. So he used steel tools to basically write on the metal without any sort of guide or anything like that. And when I was younger, I just thought it was beautiful. He tried to teach me and I realized how difficult it was. And
yeah, he actually underwent an apprenticeship for several years, right? In Switzerland to learn the trade.
Right. He did an apprenticeship. He got to the level of journeyman, but he never became a master jeweler in hand engraving because he moved to the US. But that doesn't negate his talent. So I wanted to figure out a way to put words on that didn't require me being an apprentice and a journeyman, all of that. So I discovered stamping, and it's literal little tiny letter stamps that are backwards, and then you use a tiny hammer to hammer them into the metal. You spend time laying out the piece or whatever your message is, and then you stamp it on there. So it gives you a level of personalization, and everyone looks a little bit different because it is hand done. Nothing is exact. It's not done on a computer. And,
well, I think that's part of the appeal is that is that the letters aren't exactly aligned, and it looks hand done, and there's a real warmth with that.
Right. I try, my designs are very simple and clean, but then you have that added handmade feel with the stamping. So it does feel handmade. It doesn't feel like it came from Macy's or whatever department store.
So if somebody had a specific message that you don't offer, could they order, a message and you can customize it for what they need?
Right. As long as it fits within the parameters of the piece, I can personalize basically anything to what my letters that I have are stamped.
Sure.
Because I can't do special shapes unless I have that stamped.
Right.
But the fortune cookie, those are standard messages, but they could do a specific message custom on your fortune cookie necklace.
And then the actual cookie part, we hand form ourselves. So, that's metal work there as well. So, we do a lot of not just hand stamping, but yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the actual business side of the business, because obviously you started as a hobby business, which many businesses start kind of as a secondary income, kind of just for fun. Let me kill some time. But at what point did you realize that, hey, I'm going to have to take a step back from my real world job and just dive into this wholeheartedly full time?
So it was when I say viral, but it wasn't like the true viral that happens now, but it was viral for me. We were doing art festivals, but then we also had online sales, and, we were making maybe 10 fortune cookies a week. And then all of a sudden we were getting orders for 30 fortune cookies a day.
Oh. And
I was like, whoa, now what is happening? And I figured out where that had come from. And it was incredible, and it was completely shocking, and I didn't expect it. And we weren't really set up for it. So, I was literally my assistant at the time, she works for me again. And she's like, I just remember the look on your face when I would come to bring you work, and you just looked like a zombie, because I was not sleeping. I would luckily I was working for my dad, and my dad was very gracious to let me kind of work during the quiet times at his job. But that's when I knew. I was like, I am literally spending all my time working for my dad doing my work, and
what year was that?
That was 2011. I actually remember the moment that it happened, because my husband had proposed, and I was taking a course to learn about Judaism, because he is Jewish. And so my phone was pinging in the course, because I never had to put it on silent, because it never made noises. So I'm trying to turn it off, and I'm so embarrassed. And I was like, what is going on? I'm getting all these orders. So yeah, it was hard to focus that day in the course, but yeah, it was crazy. And I just rode that wave. I had no idea what I was doing, but yeah. And then it never really slowed down really.
So unpack that.
For a year after that.
It was Pinterest that you kind of hit it on?
Yeah, it was Pinterest.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a woman who had posted on her blog, and then someone repinned that, and then it just went like wildfire.
That's crazy.
So
Very cool. Well, and so are you still utilizing that format now? Or what other kind of marketing things are you doing to kind of get your brand out there?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've tried so many different things. So we still utilize Pinterest. I've tried paid ads through Pinterest, through like AdRoll, where you like randomly go on a website, you see like ads on the sides and header. I've tried Facebook ads. I've tried all of those things, but I found for me, I don't want to spend that money for maybe 10 sales a month. So I've really focused on building relationships with my customers. So I utilize a lot of email marketing, SMS marketing. I mean, we do use Pinterest and Instagram to try and use the find feature just to get new people. But the majority of my business is repeat customers. I'd probably say about 40% is repeat buyers.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier in a conversation that was one of the challenges that you have, is that even your repeat customers aren't people that you've met and seen eye to eye. So everything that you're doing is geared towards building some kind of a relationship with them as best you can without ever meeting in the same room with them.
Right. Like, it's very important for me because, now that I don't do art festivals and I'm not doing in-person wholesale shows, everything I do is about building trust with my customers, making sure that they feel supported with an online order. I mean, you're ordering a ring, you don't know your ring size. I got to make sure that you know what your ring size is. So, we offer things like you can order a ring sizer, you get free shipping on your next order if you purchase the ring from us. We have post-purchase emails. So when someone places an order, they get emailed knowing that, well, first of all, they get an email like, thank you so much for your order. Every order means the world to us. Really making sure people understand that we are very small and like everything means so much to us. And then following up after the order ships, letting them know, like, if it doesn't fit, we do a complimentary ring resize. Here's how to care for your jewelry. Do you have more questions? We're here for you. Did something break? Let's take care of it. Like really making sure that people feel supported. Because when you're spending, $60, $70, $80, $200 on something sight unseen, you've seen pictures and they're professional pictures. We want to make sure that that we know that, and we want you to feel supported in your purchase.
And in addition, they're very personal items, particularly if they have your messaging, a message stamped in them, and maybe even a very personal message. These are very, very personal items. Right.
We get so much feedback from people. I mean, we do try to reach out to people after, if they have done a personalized message. We'll ask them, if they'd be comfortable sharing their story. Like, we want to know more about them and their lives and how can we support them. I mean, I've had people where they placed a lot of orders and then I didn't hear from them for a while. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not, where's their next order? It's, are they okay? Like, I want to check in and make sure that they're okay.
Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with hole-in-the-wall drywall repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today.
And then you have another part of your business that is business to business, where you're essentially wholesaling to other jewelry sellers. And I know for a fact, because I hear you talk periodically about traveling to Nashville, I think is probably somebody you do business with there. Tell us a little bit about that part of your business.
Yeah. So I used to do wholesale shows. So I did 2 different shows, and the show would be at the beginning of the year and then like around July, August. And those were like your buying periods for stores to restock from holiday and then to prep for holiday. And you would meet a lot of your buyers, you would get a lot of press, and there was a lot of face-to-face time. And then the stores could also see your work in person. But after having 2 children, and mine are little, almost 5 and 2. So I can't just go do these shows for a week, and, that's just too much. So I have started trying to implement visiting regions where my stores are and showing them new products, bringing them their orders, trying to keep that relationship alive, keep it in person. And maybe I only see them once a year, but, I'm getting to do a trunk show and I get to meet their customers.
Oh, nice.
So that's building a relationship with their customers to buy my jewelry in their store. Because most of the stores that I work with are also small businesses. So, they're constantly building relationships. But it's important for me, when I had back before COVID, I had about 150 retailers. And one of my issues was that I didn't really know my retailers that well. And some of them didn't treat us very well because they didn't understand our product. And they would berate my employees sometimes. And I'd be like, okay, it's time to break up. We're not going to work with them anymore. They don't understand who we are. Clearly, if they're treating us that way, how are they treating their customers? And that's a representation on my brand. So it's very important to me when we work with retailers that they're representing our brand. So we want to make sure that they have, great Yelp reviews. They, are very kind to us. They want to communicate with us because that shows me how much they care about their customers as well.
Yeah, we call it alignment here. So we're going this direction, and we may have an employee that's always going the other direction, or a customer sometimes. And we have a phrase where we'll fire the customer. If they just they don't get how we do business. We're honest. We're authentic. We're straight shooters. And if I have a customer or an employee who cannot align with that, if he's out of alignment, I can't keep it. You made me think of one other phrase that we use a lot here is the spinning of the plate. So I don't know, years ago, they used to have these talent shows, and this guy would come out with a stick and he puts a plate on top of it and he spins it. And then he puts up the next one, he spins it. And then he puts up the third one, he spins it. Then he has to jump back and spin the first one. But when you're talking about reaching out periodically, touching those business customers that you have, that's essentially, you're just going back to give that plate a spin to let them know I'm still here. I'm still, here's a new product I'd like to show you, or do you have any questions about some of the other elements of our product line?
For our wholesale, we utilize a CRM to help us. We used to we were like notebook fiends, and we would literally just have notes constantly. And it got to the point where it was hard to manage. And we switched over to a CRM about a year ago, and it has made so much difference because we're able to track it, and it's not just in somebody's notebook,
Yeah, that's a really common tale of small business.
All right, hold on. So you did business for 10 years out of notebooks or more?
Yes.
You just got a CRM last year.
See, I told you it wasn't just me, James.
Yeah. I mean, we had emails. We did have emails, but yes, we just started utilizing a CRM. My mentor for Wholesale, she was like dancing. She was like, "I can't believe I finally convinced you."
Nice.
Congratulations for entering the CRM world. We actually did a podcast on CRMs just a couple of weeks ago.
You know what though? It's that is one of the bridges that small businesses, particularly entrepreneurs, struggle to cross. There's just a step of faith because there's an expense there, and then there's a element of time engagement to be able to fill the information in. But boy, does life get a lot easier after that.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like, so I have one of my employees. She manages wholesale relationships, and she's like, I love it because it'll just like pop up like, oh, we haven't talked to this person in a while. And like 40 stores, that's what we deal with now. Like, that doesn't sound like that much, but it's easy for that 39th store to kind of get overlooked sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Well, and then also we have people that became inactive. Oh, maybe we should reach back out to them, you know?
Well, that was kind of one of the other questions I wanted to ask is, you know, I have a philosophy and it's not mine. I think it's not really original, but necessity is the mother of invention. When you need something. So obviously you said earlier, you started out, you didn't know what you were doing. You were just kind of winging it the best you can. Maybe you could help some of our listeners just kind of go back and think about something where you found a pain point and you had to work through that process. Maybe you have a couple tips or just a story that you could kind of relate that where you were kind of like, this is not going to work. You just mentioned the CRM, but I mean, think back, you know, there's like, if you're just starting out, moving to that next step, you got a story that you could share?
Sure. Oh gosh. I mean, I have 800. It probably, I would say one of the hardest pain points was learning. So with manufacturing jewelry, you know, we first started making it where, okay, we got this order, we're going to make this order. We got this order, then we'll make that order. And like, it was very much like, we're just going to fulfill as they come. And then we started getting, you know, 30 orders a day. And that doesn't really work that way. So we started doing more of like a production line kind of making and figuring out, okay, we had 30 orders come in today. 25 of them are fortune cookies. So why don't we make, you know, the fortune cookie, 25 of the fortune cookies? Why don't we add on the chain? Then we'll stamp the messages and like really started kind of productioning it out. So it wasn't one fortune cookie. Okay, done. 2 fortune cookies. Okay, done. And it was streamlining the work. But then, so that's kind of how we were doing it and it was fine. And then we started doing wholesale. And then you're talking about, okay, yes, I have 30 fortune cookies on this order, but I also have this order that's due next week that has 10 fortune cookies. So why don't I just put those all together? And then I have 20 bracelets. So I'm going to put all those together from 3 different orders and figuring out how to kind of piece everything together. So you're not making one design over and over and over again. You're making a bunch of the same design all at once. And that was probably a huge learning curve for me because I had never thought of it until time became so expensive. And, you know, we had told people, okay, you know, you place an order, it's going to ship in a week. Well, the way we were making it, it wasn't going to be shipping in a week. It was going to be shipping in a month. So we had to figure out a way to like get that process moving. So that was a huge, huge learning lesson. And it has changed how I run my business, but also my life. So to the point where I'm like, oh, I'll clean that up once I have a bigger pile kind of thing. But that's just kind of how I learned how to run my business. And it was definitely a necessity because I was like, I can't get all this done the way we're doing it.
Right. I wonder if when you have a slow time, will you make a production run? Like, we're going to be slow for the next couple of days. Let's go ahead and make 20 fortune cookies and we just have them on the shelf ready to go.
Right. So we have started. Well, so that was one thing that we started doing was we have certain pieces made to a certain point. Because when you stamp something, it has to be flat. So I can't have a ring that's already made. I have to have it flat, but I can at least have the metal cut to the specific size because it comes in kind of like drywall. It comes in the sheet that you need it. It's like the sheet that you don't need. Mm-hmm. And then you have to cut it down to be what you need. So we kind of worked that process. And we have, in the past, we've had assistants who either would work from home or would come in and they would do assembly to a certain point for us. And then myself and the production jeweler would finish the pieces. So or at one point I had 4 production jewelers.
So question on jewelry type. I see you do a lot of sterling silver and then you have the gold. Do you see trends up and down in just the type of metal that are being used? I'm a silver guy. I like, my wife likes silver, so she's like, everything I buy her is silver. She doesn't care for gold. But, what are you seeing trend-wise?
So for a long time, it was silver. Silver was it. And if people got wedding bands, they were getting it in white gold or they were getting it in platinum. And then things started to kind of change and move more towards gold. I would say probably in the early 2000s, we had a short stint where everybody wanted rose gold. And I even did that for a little bit, but found rose gold it's more like a pink gold. It has more copper in it to give that rosy color. The problem is copper is what makes silver tarnish. So it's a pain in the rear end to keep clean and to work with. So we did it for about 5 years, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, this is not making the amount of sales we have versus the amount of headaches we have. This is not worth it. But gold is definitely very, very popular. Silver's starting to come back just recently, probably in the past year or so. So it kind of ebbs and flows, but I'm not really looking to follow trends per se. I'm looking to create quality pieces that are classic, but with a little twist that people are going to wear for a long time.
They're almost heirloom, aren't they?
Some of them are.
You could just pass it along.
Right. So we use a lot of what we use is gold plated. So it's not solid gold. So it's not technically heirloom, but we do some gold pieces. And I offer that because some people want that heirloom quality, that they can order it for themselves and then give it to their children or grandchildren or whomever.
So it's been an interesting ride for you from child of a jewelry supply to public health degree to small business entrepreneur. What's the future look like for you? Where are you headed with all this?
That is a great question. I have no idea. Right now I'm really focused on our wholesale has stayed pretty solid. We have great relationships, but it's been really hard since I stopped doing art festivals to build our retail up to where I want it to be. So I've been trying a lot of different things, like I mentioned earlier, paid marketing, paid ads. That wasn't the right thing for me. So figuring out how to grow our retail business. And so that's kind of the next step, is really investing in that. And, I'm not one to say never. So I don't know if in 5 years I'm going to have the studio outside of my house again. I don't know. I might have a retail location.
Sure.
Who knows? I just kind of roll with my whims in a way. But within what's realistic for me.
Right. Have you ever thought about adding a men's line?
So I used to have a men's line. I did collar stays. So they're what go in the dress shirts to keep the collar. And those were really, really popular until people stopped wearing dress shirts.
Right.
So I discontinued those. I actually have a men's bracelet that is set to come out in the next couple of months. It's actually kind of a funny story. I had a neighbor who asked me to make a custom bracelet as like a 20th anniversary gift. And it's rare I'll take on like truly custom projects. But I was like, you know what? This sounds like fun. It's in my wheelhouse. Let's do it. And he's been wearing it. His friend has seen it. Now he just got one. Then my friend heard me talking about it. She got one for her brother's 40th. So I'm like, maybe I should start doing this. Maybe guys do wear bracelets. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm going to add it in. And
well, I think it's kind of enough because I like to accessorize occasionally. I'll wear a necklace or a bracelet, but it's limited, right? And so if you want to wear it needs to be typically for me. I'm a bigger guy. Chunkier things are big, but all of the, like if you want a ring, it's got a skull or it's got, biker symbols on it. And I just need a nice ring. I don't need to have a statement piece that says, I've been a Marine. I just need to have a nicer statement ring or, a bracelet that's not a Cuban, necklace. Right.
Right. Yeah, it is a lot of the men's jewelry is very targeted to specific groups of people and specific styles. And there definitely is a market for more simple, streamlined men's jewelry. And I do think that there's a hole in the industry for that. But it's hard because when you start talking about men's jewelry, typically men are a little bit harder on their jewelry. So it needs to have more weight to it, which means more cost. Yeah. So then are people willing to pay, you see the women's ring that's, $56. Well, the men's ring is going to have to be $175 because the metal there's so much more metal. Yeah. And then when you add weight, that adds labor because it's harder for us to manipulate and bend. So, there is that level of, well, will people buy it? That's kind of scary, because it's hard to find where you fit in that and how to market to that. Like, who are you, but I feel like now you have the kind of more men's stylized brands. There's like a men's candle company that I follow and, just kind of the feel of that branding, does a really good job it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for that man who like wants his house to smell nice and is going to use a candle, but it's not going to be, jasmine.
Yeah.
Although we like those.
No, we don't.
It's nice, but sometimes you want it to be smoky and like letter.
I've got a candle. I've got a candle in my house right now that is Whiskey Barrel. That's the name of the candle.
Yeah.
It was funny because I actually have a couple pieces that are actually stainless steel. They're not even silver or gold. And I actually like it because it doesn't tarnish that badly, and it's fairly inexpensive compared to like buying silver.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited for your business. I can't wait to see where things go.
Yeah.
Anything else, Bill?
Well, I just wanted to mention just anyone who spends just a couple of minutes looking around on your website. First of all, it just leaps off the page that it is handmade. It's obviously hand stamped, and you're right. It's inspirational, and to me, inspirational means this is your heart coming through. This is something that sprang from you and you manufactured and now offer for sale. And I just I love your website. I just love your product line. I love your heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll tell you what, tell us what is a good way for somebody to get a hold of you if they want to reach out about the jewelry or just to meet you. What's a good way to contact you?
The best way is through our contact form on our website. The website is ChristinaKober.com, ChristinAKob as in boy, ER.com.
Great.
And there's a contact us button. We have a blog where you can leave comments as well. We do have social media, but I'd prefer things to be in my inbox instead of on social media because they get lost and overlooked.
Right. And remind us real quick, give us your website. Is it ChristinaKoberDesigns.com?
That's Christina Kober.
ChristinaKober.com.
ChristinaKober.com. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you go to Christina Kober Designs, it'll redirect you.
Okay.
So I own both of those URLs. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast today. We loved having you.
Yeah. And I love hearing the story.
Thank you.
I can see this as a bridal shower gift. I can see this as, like I've got a granddaughter coming in the new year. I can see this being like a nice little necklace or bracelet for her down the road.
Yeah,
so.
It's definitely gifting. That's a lot of what we do. A lot of like new mom jewelry, new grandma jewelry. People will stack rings or add to their necklace to have children's names or birth dates because once again, customizable.
Yeah.
We also we're starting to do, this is new, so not everybody knows this yet. We're about to release birthstones. So little tiny birthstone pendants and rings. So another way to have something personal, but not necessarily be words, because sometimes it's a little too on the nose to have like everything I have right now has E and S, which are my children's initials. And I'm like, okay, like I'm E and S'd out. Like, let's do something different here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the show today, Christina. This has been absolutely amazing. And where again are you located? Just curious. I forgot.
I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's just north of Atlanta.
Excellent. Very good. Well, listen, great find, Bill. I'm so glad you brought her on.
I just, great guest too. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Good show. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.